Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to this walkthrough and first impressions of sorts of the Enchanted Tarot by Amy Zerner and Monty Farber, the 25th anniversary edition. Oh my gosh, this deck and I have there's such a story to go along with this deck coming into my life. So I have seen this deck time and time and time again. And have you ever had a deck where you just know it's not the right time? Like it's not for you, it's not for you, it's not for you. And then you're like, oh shoot, I need that. Well, that was my journey with this deck. And yet when I decided that I needed it, all of a sudden I couldn't get it. And it was the most obnoxious thing ever. Essentially, I went to go order it. I pre-ordered it from Amazon. Amazon's like, we don't know when or if copies will be back in stock. And I'm like, really? So it sat and sat and sat and sat and sat. And then I would look at Amazon, I would look at Book Depository, I would go to all the usual places and nobody had stock. Not my local bookstores, not any of the online versions of my local bookstores, nothing, not a zip, zilch, zero. And I was like, great, I missed out. It's out of print. It's never coming back. I was too late. I started looking on eBay and I think I even found really overpriced eBay copies as well. And then I was on a video. I wish I could remember which one and I wish I could remember who helped me. But someone said, hey, you can get this from Book Depository. I just checked. It's on there right now. And I was like, really? So I went to Book Depository. I ordered my copy and then it proceeded to take like 2.5 months to get to me. Maybe not that long, but it sure feels like it. I definitely ordered this. I'm making the video in... Gosh, what month is it? February? I'm making the video right now. It's February. It's the very beginning of February. I don't know when I'm going to release this walkthrough on my channel, but I'm filming it in February. I definitely ordered this deck in 2020. I just can't remember how far back in 2020. I want to say like November-ish. It took a really long time, you guys. And it didn't dispatch to me from Book Depository until the beginning of January. And then it proceeded to take like over a month to get. It's been a whole thing. I started to literally think that this just wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to come and I was going to have to get a refund. Like that's how bad it was. But anyways, this deck has been around for some time. As you can tell, it is the 25th anniversary edition. It comes in this gorgeous, gorgeous box, which by the way has a magnetic closure, which is super awesome. Now I already got into it just to kind of set things up. So I did put my cards in the bag that came with, and I kind of got to admit, you all know I'm a bag snob and I love my Peggy bags, and this will eventually find its way into a Peggy bag because this is one of those stretchy velvet bags that is unlined and that is unlikely to last. But it's real pretty and I just like the way it stretches around the cards. So my cards are going to stay in here for a little tiny while at least. I'm just going to enjoy it because it's very satisfying, this particular fit. But anyways, when you open this package, and just make sure you check it when you get the book and the cards out, because it comes like this. The cards are sealed here. Then there's the book. And then you have to pull this cardboard insert out and the bag is tucked into this hollow space. So if you're one of those people that like gets your cards out and then pitches your box, make sure you check that if you order this because you don't want to miss that. But yeah, then that is magnetic. And actually that's kind of awesome because when I took and put these in the bag and then shoved them into this spot, right? And then put the book in there, it kind of pushes against the lid a little bit, but oh gosh. Now I'm not going to be able to do it on camera, of course. But then when I closed this, the magnet actually still holds it closed, which is really nice. So if you just want to have your book and your deck in the box and then put it on your shelf, you can totally, oh my gosh, look at me making a mess. You can totally do that. And I definitely encourage you to store this in whatever way makes you happy. Y'all know I hang my stuff on the wall. And actually I just realized I may not be able to hang this. It might actually stretch and pull at my cards too much if I hang it in this bag it came in. So it's probably going to end up in a Peggy bag after all. Well, I tried, you guys. But if it weren't for the fact that I hang my decks on the wall, which if you didn't know, I hang my decks on the wall. Hi, welcome to my channel. I hang all my decks on my walls, which is super awesome. And it's like the best deck storage system, in my opinion, ever in life. But it does have its drawbacks, and with a bag that's this thin and stretchy, I am concerned it would pull like against the cards, whereas the cotton lined bags that I usually use don't do that. So I guess I'm not hanging it in this bag after all, but it is really pretty. And yeah, anyways, oh gosh, I'm going to shut up about the bag now. Goodness. Okay, well, I need that out of my way. It's floppy. So the cards, as you can see, are ginormous. So let me just grab a card from a standard tarot size deck that's nearby. So this is the Color Mage Oracle. Look how much taller this is than a standard tarot. Holy moly, it's huge. There's something actually kind of satisfying. It is actually a little bit wider too, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's actually quite a bit wider and quite a bit taller. But it's really satisfying. It's the kind of deck that you feel like you can kind of sink into. And there are big borders on these cards. So that's something else to be aware of. But I feel like in this case, the borders kind of act almost like doorways or windows into the card. I couldn't imagine trimming this. And also, can we talk about how stunning these backings are? And like, there's no copyright, there's no words, just beautiful, beautiful backings. I will probably have to side shuffle this though, because while I have, oh, look at that. Here's how you find out how big my hands really are. I do have quite big hands, and that's a stretch, but I can actually do that. I technically could probably find a, no, not happening. Also, side note, I don't know what happened here, but I do have some differences in the card widths. I don't know if that's going to show up on camera, but starting there and starting there, it's like the cards were done in 3 different batches or something, and I've ended up with like 3 very slightly different sized cards. It is incredibly subtle, and once the deck is shuffled, I'm very unlikely to notice. But when you first pull it out and it's brand new, you're like, what are these ridges? And then you're like, oh, my cards are not quite the same size. If I turn it just barely to the side, you might actually be able to see the way that purple sticks up, and there's actually a yellow that's sticking up here. That's where the 2 divisions are. It could even be just those 2 cards, but I don't think so. Anyway, just a side note. So I don't know a lot about this deck's history, for full disclosure. So I'm looking at it purely from the perspective of being interested in the art. But it is a beautiful, like layered, textured look. Now, I'm a huge fan of texture in collage. My favorite collage to date has been the textured tarot. So it was that texture, that fabric texture, that really kind of captured my attention. I really want to zoom in. I'm going to cut the titles off. Am I though? I just really want to zoom in on the artwork. Isn't that neat though, to be able to see the artwork so well? So maybe what I'll do is I'll like pull it up so you get a chance to see what card it is, but I really want to focus in on the art. And I think that's one thing with these cards, it can be hard to see all the detail in the artwork. So that's how I'm going to do my walkthrough. Hopefully that doesn't bug anybody, but I'll try to remember to show you which card it was. Okay, so let's dive in. So we have the Fool. I love all these like fabric pieces and like embroidery and like layers you have, but it's a very jester-like Fool. So it almost reminds me a little bit of the Marseille Fool, which is really neat. Next we have the Magician. Okay, so this is really cool. I love how the Magician has his hand over this, like, it almost looks like he's pulling magic or energy out of this like flower or plant in here. This could even be a fire, or giving it back. It's hard to tell which direction it's going, but you feel like magic is happening, like it's crackling in this card. It really captures, I guess, the energy, the essence of the Magician. Here in our High Priestess, we have a crescent moon with a little owl and these beautiful trees that frame her on either side. She's veiled and has a crescent moon at her forehead. There's also this, like, I think it's a griffin type creature. It looks like it's got like a flying lion type beast of some kind here at the bottom. So much gorgeous detail in this High Priestess. The Empress. All these flowers, everything surrounding her, all this bounty. You get the feeling that she's got a domain and she's ruling in that domain. The Emperor. I love that there's this mountain behind him. I love the color palette in this card as well. All the like deep wine reds that show up through. It may look a little more washed out on camera, but I think it's coming through pretty accurately. It's like a berry, like a deep blackberry shade showing up in these flowers and then in his robes. And I just kind of love that. It's kind of regal, but authoritative at the same time. The Hierophant. We have our 2 supplicants here at the bottom. The Hierophant here, who almost looks like he could be made out of stone, which is an interesting thing that you could layer into your meanings as well. Love that. The Lovers. Okay, so I love this too. So this again also has that bit of Rider-Waite-Smith meets Marseille, because this card could be Rider-Waite-Smith, but when you add this other figure, this girl who's like looking on at this couple, possibly jealously or possibly is there as a distraction, you could get that element of like the Marseille and choice in this card as well. The Chariot. Interestingly, and we'll get into this when we look at the guidebook is so great at describing what you see in the imagery or who you see, if it references anyone in particular. The Chariot did reference somebody in particular. Let's just take a look. So the Chariot represents Brunhilde, a warrior maiden who's triumphantly winning the race. And she's riding a reindeer. So I think that's really cool. Next we have Strength. I love this. I love the pinks. You still have the infinity symbol over her head there. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous card. And there's all these like decorative borders that are part of the actual piece itself, inside of the actual purple, well in this case the purple border. Oh, and the cards are color coded. So you have purples for the majors. You have yellows for the wands. Yes. Blue is for the swords, pink is for the hearts or cups, and green is for the pentacles. So that works. Anyway, okay, but back to it. So here we have our Hermit. I love that the Hermit is walking down a path, is clearly on a journey, because I think that's really indicative of the energy of the Hermit, because there's there's often a spiritual quest happening with this card, and I really like that that's captured here. I also like the way that you could imagine that the yellow you see on the path is actually the light that's being cast from his lantern. Next, we have the Wheel of Fortune. Now this one, let's see if I can get it into the viewfinder better. We still have the sort of eagle-like creature sitting atop the wheel. And the wheel itself is like a mosaic of florals. There's almost like a night sky kind of look to the central portion in the card. And then, yeah, I like that there's sort of layers here, because my definition of the wheel, it works to have that. I can't tell if at the bottom here this is meant to be like leaves. It almost looks like possible paths, which is really interesting, but I think it's meant to be something more like three-dimensional than that. And there seems to be almost like a centaur type figure at the bottom. And I also don't know what these shapes are. So I think the guidebook would be really useful, but for this is obviously the central part of the image. Next we have Justice. So beautiful. The Hanged Man. This one seems very precariously hanging, and like the arms just kind of flailing. You can tell like being buffeted almost by the wind. It's really interesting that way. I love all the layers. I love this Death card. This Death guy, he feels so chill, right? Like he's just hanging out, just waiting to do his job, right? He's just there. This is a very peaceful looking card. It doesn't have that real dark overtone that a lot of Death cards can have. And I mean, I love me a good dark Death card, don't get me wrong, but I just think there's a little bit of playfulness in this, which is really nice. The Temperance card. It's not actually very common that we see two figures in Temperance, and we have a clock face up in the top here, and it's like this person is offering up their bowl, and the Temperance angel is watering, like actually tempering their bowl or something, or plate or whatever it is. It's like they're saying this, I need to moderate this, and Temperance is helping them. So you get the feeling like this figure is like seeking guidance and support and help from Temperance the angel, which is really interesting to me. I know this is very zoomed in, and I hope that's helpful. I just don't want to like you guys to miss the details of the art. So with the Devil card, I immediately see a mask here. And that's what I'm honing in on. That may not be the whole point of this image. I'll be curious to see what the guidebook has to say about it, but that just makes me think of a mask, which really works for me for the Devil card. Next we have the Tower. All this action happening around the Tower here. The Star. And see here, it actually does look like if we compare the, if we compare the Magician, hold on, and the way that he was working with energy, so he seemed to be almost pulling it up I don't know if you can tell the difference there. He seems to be kind of pulling it up. When I really see this, because this immediately looks like she's pouring it out, like she's putting it down, like she's setting it downward. I don't know how I can tell that. It's hard to describe. There's all these little stars coming out of her hands, and it's like she's pouring this light down onto this flower. It's very pretty. There's a star here above her. The moon. Wow. There's a little dog there, and there's like a girl here who's like gazing up at the moon. We were missing that, I guess, wild element of like the moon, the dog and the wolf, if we were looking at this through the lens of Rider-Waite-Smith. I do think this deck has been around long enough that it very much is, it's probably very intentionally kind of going its own way with the cards while holding that original meaning. While holding that original meaning. Beautiful. The sun. Hopefully you can see what I mean. It feels like these cards like pull you in. And I think it's all of the framing that's happening, which in a lot of decks that would really drive me bananas. But in this, it seems to invite me into the artwork. Judgment. Okay, I really love this. This really struck me when I first saw it. So we have the angel who's blown the horn, and we have this hand reaching up from the darkness. Like, okay, I'm coming, like, I'm gonna heed the call. It's very potent imagery, and I love that it's not just like a bunch of like, I don't know, people in tombs. It just feels more meaningful this way because we can reach out actively at any point in our lives to heed that call, right? We don't have to just do it in death. So I love that. And then we have the world. I just love the freedom in this character and the way that they almost look like they've got the whole world like easily kind of floating along on their back. I think that's really interesting. Okay, so now we're into the minor arcana, and we start with the wands. Here we have the Ace of Wands. I love all the power in this card. I love the like pink tiger stripe in the background, the way the hand is up, and we have this big staff here in the center. It's a very symmetrical card too, which I really appreciate. Love that. Ace of Wands. The Two of Wands, the planning card. Lots of little butterflies and moths in this deck also. The Three of Wands. There's like these three cherubs, and they're like holding these three wands. And the thing I think about when I see this card is almost like the universe is waiting to hand you what you want. You just have to like take steps in that direction so that they can give it to you. Do you know what I mean? That's almost what that makes me think of. Like they're watching from up above, and they're like, okay, we're ready. Like, just say the word. We'll rain our blessings down on you. I don't know. That's just what it makes me think of. The Four of Wands for that milestone and that celebration. I love that we've got the birds up top as well as the people down below, and the four staves creating a bit of a canopy with this tree. Love that. That was the Four of Wands. The Five of Wands. We have clearly this looks like an argument of like their faces are set in this very stubborn way. You get the idea that nobody's going to cede any ground on this issue. The Six of Wands, our victory card. Love that. I don't know what, it looks like a shooting star up here. Cool. Seven of Wands, got the high ground. It looks very confident up there. Seven of Wands. The Eight of Wands. I really enjoy this imagery a lot because it's a little bit ambiguous whether she's shooting the wands out from her, like pushing them out from her, or whether she's receiving them as they're coming in. So as a reader, I like that because I can interpret it in a number of ways. Sometimes depending on when they're flaming wands, sometimes depending on how they're flaming, it can look like one direction or the other. The Nine of Wands. Self-defense, defending, protecting, holding the ground. Kind of the goalie card of tarot, right? Interesting. These look like military badges. It's a very strong card. And the 10. Very Rider-Waite-Smith here as our central figure sort of struggles with his load, and he's leaning into it or leaning away from it. Cool. So now the courts. The courts, I think, in this deck are really really expressive. So here we have our Princess of Wands, and she's like reading a letter or getting ready to send a letter. I'm not sure. There's this little hearth fire or fire kind of being kept underneath her, and you get the idea of like stoking or having like an idea, or I don't know, that's what it makes me think of. Love the little butterflies, so cute. We have the Prince of Wands, who I guess is our knight. You do definitely see, I think, influences from not just the Rider-Waite-Smith system here, and I don't know Thoth very well, so I don't know if this is meant to be a Thoth reference. I don't think so, because the ordering is still Princess, Prince, Queen, King. I think it's just the royal family setup. But I love how he seems like he's ready to literally like lead a charge. His horse even looks really flamboyant with all the extra feathers. There's a lot of like kind of show-offy energy here, which I think can totally be the Prince or Knight of Wands, so that works. I love the queens in this deck. They're like this vintage, like really expressive look about them. I love that. And she looks very sensual. She looks very confident. Love that. And then our kings we get to see from a little further away. He totally looks like a Viking kind of dude to me. Maybe it's his leg things. His leg things. What are those called? I have no idea. If anybody knows, comment down below. What are the leg things called? Love that. He's holding a spear. Yeah. He's very much he comes off like the really powerful leader like we often see in the King of Wands. So now we're into the swords. You can definitely tell how the aces feel very classic, right? Just all stitched in. The 2. Interesting here, she's still blocking her heart space like we normally see, but there's this big like peacock feather, almost like a quill behind her, so that gives you different things you can look at. You've got these big imposing sword type shapes off to either side. All the meaning is definitely there. We have the crescent moon in the sky. It's just depicted a little differently. Our 3 of Swords. I love that it's not just 3 swords piercing a heart. It's not that I mind the classic imagery, I just love it when it's shaken up a bit. So that is our 3 of Swords. 4 of Swords. I love this meditative energy, this calm, and the way that it looks like he's definitely in a safe space, like a sacred space here. Love that. The 5 of Swords. It looks like she's trying to fight the lightning, which is such an interesting concept for the 5 of Swords. Like, lightning's coming down and you're going to fight it. Like, who are you? I love that. 6 of Swords, definitely moving away from the storm. And with the rainbow, it works really great continuity-wise with like this whole battling the storm. And then the rainbow and the 6 of Swords. Love that continuity there. The 7 of Swords. Look at the face on this character. She's like, aw, man, I got myself in trouble again. It's almost like, and you do get the impression almost like that she is experiencing something she kind of knew she was going to have to experience because of her own choices. The 8 of Swords. She's literally holding a sword and like feeling trapped. I love it when they're holding the thing that will get them out of the situation and they're just like, but I can't. Analysis paralysis. I can't get myself out. The 9 of Swords. Lying awake at night. This is very chaotic. Whatever's happening here feels very chaotic to me. So it feels like a chaotic, stressful energy kind of bearing down. And the 10 of Swords. Oh, that's tough. There's like a lightning bolt. This looks like almost like a bigger sister holding like a younger brother who looks ill or not well. That's a very tough card. Wowza. And here we're back in the courts. Here we have another princess with another letter, and she's surrounded by all this like gold like flecks, and you get the feeling that like it's interesting too because the colors used in these cards, they're all very like there's a lot of like blues used in the artwork. It's not just the borders, which is really interesting. So it is very kind of color coded. I wonder if that's true throughout. I think it is. Let's hold on. I'm just going to take a little. Yeah, look at all the yellow used in the wands cards and all the purples used in the majors. I also noticed that the majors have all of these little top decorative elements, and the minors don't really have those. They might have other things. Like clearly the artist is a big fan of this sort of ellipsis, pointed ellipsis kind of shape. I don't know what the name for that is. That's just really interesting. Anyways, sorry, let's get back to our Princess. So yeah, more with the communication here for sure. I just feel like these characters have a story and you could kind of intuit that in your reading. The Knight of Swords. Love to see lots of movement in him, and he definitely delivers lots of, or sorry, the Prince of Swords in this deck. Love that. The Queen of Swords. Man, look at her face. She is not messing around. And our King of Swords, who looks like Hermes. Or is it Nike with the winged helmet? I always forget. King of Swords. Beautiful artwork. Okay, now we're on to the heart suit, which is, it's hearts instead of cups. It totally works. So here we have our ace. We have this jar and this big, gorgeous heart and a rose. Pretty, pretty. Love the two swans for the two of hearts. Look at that. Those little, like, loving on each other angels up there, too. That's a really pretty card. The Three of Hearts. I love the three dancing girls here. And instead of ellipsis, now we have heart-shaped borders. Look at this. Oh, interesting. I just realized, I wonder if the borders, hold on. It's another thing I just noticed. So we noticed that the majors have these sort of arches. The wands are pretty much completely open on the top. Like they don't, oh, no. They do have a shape. It's almost clover-like, which works for wands, hey? Look at that, like playing cards. Yeah, because if you think about it then, aha, the swords have a spade-like shape. Oh my God, I just totally noticed that. They're like big spades. And then we have the hearts. So there's the playing card influence. It kind of makes me wonder if there is a playing card influence, a Thoth, a Marseille, and a Rider-Waite-Smith, like all in one. I'd be curious to read the introduction in the guidebook to kind of see if that was intentional. It's got to be. Yep, because diamond shapes in the pentacles. I know I had to jump ahead. I'm sorry. Spoilers, whatever. So there's our ace. Sorry, let's get back on track. The 2 and the 3, that's where we were. Okay, there's the 4. I love this. She's like sending, like, it's like there's this opportunity to send or receive love. I feel like this white behind her head is like that aha moment you have when you realize you have been blocked in some way. The 5, all these little broken hearts. There's the gentleman who looks pretty despondent in the background there. Here's our 6. All the kids playing. So perfect. 7. Each heart has a slightly different color at its core. And she's just trying to figure things out. The 8. This is really a potent image because to me it's like all these leaves are falling, the heart-shaped leaves are falling off the trees, like the last of the leaves have fallen. Interesting about the fish down here. This figure at the top does not look very happy. I'm really excited to read the guidebook about like all of these cards. The 9. I just look for contentment in my 9. And she seems pretty content. The 10, we have the family here. The princess. I love the different color palette through each of the suits. The Prince of Hearts. Oh man, he totally looks like a Prince of Hearts too. Look at him. Oh my gosh. The Queen of Hearts. She looks like moody AF. Look at her face. She's got like resting brat face. See what I did there? I didn't swear, but you knew what I meant, huh? I think that's a new thing. Resting brat face. That's what we're going to go with. Wowza. And then the King of Hearts. I like how he seems a little younger. Like a little more, I don't know, like approachable. That's what I like about that suit. And now we're into the pentacles, or the diamonds. Here we have the ace. There's a pentacle. There's actually a circle with a like star shape in the very center, and yet it's also a diamond. Really smart. Then we have the 2. Kind of pippish in this first card here. The 3. Okay. Working together to bring in the basket, the harvest. 4. I love her so much. She's like, mine, all mine. It's mine, all mine. I don't want to share. So perfect. The 5. Still the window above this wall with the brick kind of shape. Very classic. The 6. Huh. I'm used to seeing a second figure or a hand or something to receive in this card. 7. Leaning on the tool, looking at the plant. See how she's done or he's done. It's ambiguous. 8 of pentacles, or 8 of pentacles, not coins in this deck. All that repetition. The 9. Lady in a garden. The 10. I love that there's this like castle or fortress in the 10. What's happening here? It looks like somebody's being proposed to, maybe, or asked to dance at the bottom there. And here we have our Princess of Pentacles, who's very grounded in daily life. She's not poring over a letter. She just seems very rooted. The Prince of Pentacles. It's interesting that he's blowing a horn. The Queen of Pentacles. Look at her. And the King. So the queens have all been like very close up like this, like portraits. And the kings have all been a little further back. It makes sense because the kings in general have an energy that's a little less, you can't always just like go running up to them in the same way. Like their energy is a little more intense, a little more not foreboding, heavy, I guess. I don't know. So that is the walkthrough portion. Let's talk about it. Oh my gosh. Beautiful cards. I'm loving the backs. So let's figure out how to shuffle together, because I have no idea. I'm probably going to just side shuffle, and I'm probably going to mostly drop, because I feel like if I try to riffle, I'm going to end up with a bend. Oh, yeah, I'm going to end up with a bend. So I'm going to have to kind of drop shuffle. And I'm probably going to be able to hand over hand the long way, but oof, let's just see here. Actually, it's not too bad. They're tall, but because they're kind of skinny, it's sort of easy to keep them corralled, even though, yeah, they're very tall and skinny. They're clumpy. So another way you can shuffle more unmanageable decks is just literally deal them out. And I like to deal them out in an odd number of piles usually, so I'll do 5. Okay, let's see what the mix looks like now. Pretty good and mixed. I feel like they're pretty blended now. So once you've got a good mix like that, then you can, like that first one, you always, I feel like I always want it to be really mixed up. But now you can totally side drop shuffle these, no problem. And hand over hand them. And I'm not going to worry so much about the clumping once I've got like that first shuffle out. So like if I were to use these for a client reading or something like that, I would probably do the deal method again to kind of clear the deck because, oops, whoa, knocked the camera. Because I'd want to clear that particular clump of that reading out. But this would probably be a great one to use if you get jumpers. Anyways, so let's just pull a card and we'll read the guidebook about it. 5 of Hearts. So let's do a little look at the guidebook. So we have, it's full color, which is lovely. This one smells really good too. So it talks about 25 years of the Enchanted Tarot. And I believe, and somebody please feel free to tell me down below, I think this is the same artwork as the Zerner Farber Tarot, I think is what it was called. I have seen that in stores before, but I think it's the same artwork, but this is just the, like, I don't know, premium edition of that same deck, I guess, because I think the Zerner Farber deck was like smaller, like almost smaller than standard tarot. So we get a story about that. We get an introduction to the deck. It talks about how to do a reading. There's a note about reversed cards, how to interpret. I just love that this is color in here. Oh yes, the threefold approach. So when you're using the guidebook, it talks about how there is a threefold approach for reading through the one card technique. So if you're doing, it says, or the 3-level spread and the Celtic cross. So it talks about the special power derived from the dream, the awakening, and the enchantment of each card. So the dream is the gentle fable that reveals the fabric of each card's allegorical meaning by weaving a tale explaining the action and symbols portrayed. The dream entertains as it penetrates the psyche to fulfill the card's intention. These stories are full of the innocence of youth, yet contain the wisdom of years. Over time, repeated reading of each of the dreams will expose deeper levels of meaning, as repeated viewings of the cards of the Enchanted Tarot will produce new insights into their purposeful design. In each of the 78 dreams, both the 22 cards of the major arcana as well as the 56 cards of the minor arcana each correspond to an archetypal dream experience. They are engaging fantasies that speak directly to our subconscious mind. So that's really interesting. I didn't realize there was like a dream element to this deck, so that's really cool. The awakening brings the lesson of each story into our conscious mind for evaluation and assimilation, so it may be used as a tool for guidance and personal growth. It is a straightforward explanation of what each card signifies in a specific reading. So that's kind of like your snapshot reading. And then the enchantment is the link between our waking world and the land of our dreams. The use of these healing rituals, charms, chants, and spells reinforces our awareness of the existence of the magical world and reminds us of our ability to draw on its power. The enchantments aid us in casting out our fears, drawing love and abundance to us, and healing emotional wounds. Always perform the enchantments in a safe manner. All flames should be lit in well-ventilated areas and in stable, fireproof metal or ceramic containers that have walls to prevent sparks from leaping out. Interesting. Okay, so there's like spell work in the deck. Okay, so then we have some spreads, Celtic cross, looks like some sample readings. I wanted to find a thing that would say whether this was inspired by different methods of tarot, but I don't know if I'm going to have to do some digging to find that out. Again, if you know that, let me know, because it definitely has a playing card element here in the design. So then there's the major arcana. These are correspondences for the major arcana with gemstones, plants, a note, astrology, and color. And then we get into the card meanings. So let's take a look at, let's see if there's a difference between the majors and the minors. So we get this full-size thumbnail kind of image. I guess it's bigger than a thumbnail. So you get your dream, your awakening, and your enchantment. And then there's a quick read with a message or an outcome. Okay, so I love this. So the message is like more of like a spirit, like a message, exactly as it says, whereas an outcome is more predictive. So depending on your reading style, you might find yourself resonating with one or both of those. And that's in addition to the dream, which really describes what's happening in the card, the awakening, and the enchantment, as I described earlier. So then when we get into the minors, do we have the same amount of information? We sure do. It's like identical. So you still have the message and the outcome, dream, awakening, and enchantment. There's also, 10 of Swords, ruin. See, that's a Thoth keyword, I'm pretty sure. But the 9 of Swords is nightmare. 6 of Swords in Thoth is, I believe, science, and here it's passage. So it's its own system for sure. But let's look at the 5 of Hearts and see disappointment. So the dream. Let me just bring the card up so you can see it. Where there was love, there is now sadness and disappointment. The puddles of the sky's tears gather at the young woman's feet. The fan, once used to cool passions, is reduced to serving as a shield from the raindrops. Flowers droop dejectedly, and so does the disconsolate woman. Is it really the end of love? 3 hearts are broken, but 2 remain whole. There may still be hope. Love hesitates on the edge of despair, unable to advance or retreat. Her lover stands in the background, his gaze averted. Is he sulking or indifferent? She will not face him, but knows that she must force herself to look outward toward new interests. A seemingly harmonious relationship has been shattered. At the very least, there has been unkindness and loss of friendship. She gives a long, sad sigh and hopes that this moment of deep emotional vulnerability will pass. The awakening. This is a time of deep disappointment, but make a conscious effort to overcome it. You have lost love, but gained experience. Though feeling depressed and despondent, you must be kind to yourself as you would to another in a similar situation. Like the flowers that are the universal symbol of love's presence, love can and will bloom again. The enchantment, and this is like the active work you can do. Pluck a rose and carry it to a garden or a patch of earth at midnight. Dig a small hole and say these words 5 times. Grief be gone, my heart be healed, for all my sorrows buried here. Bury the rose, walk away, and don't look back. Oh, that's so pretty. I love that there's like a little ritual you can do for every card. How cool is that? Quick read. The message. You need to understand rejection and disappointment. You may feel that you must walk away from someone or something. Recognize the ways to gain experience from your disappointment to ensure future success. The outcome reading is the outcome may be a time of disappointment or rejection. You may have to walk away from someone or something. Be careful, and with professional counseling, you may avoid it. If not, avoid depression and despondency. So you can tell that 2 different reading styles are honored in these little snapshot readings. So if you read very predictively, or if you've asked a predictive style question, these will definitely give you that, these outcome messages will give you a predictive answer, which is fantastic. And then the message is more for those who read in that personal growth way or in that like deep energy into a situation way. I read both, but it's really interesting because I'd probably gravitate towards either message depending on how my question was worded. Really, really enjoy that. Let's just see if there's anything at the end. There is a little bit about the author and the artist. So Zerner is Amy Zerner is the artist, and Monty Farber is the author, as I understand it. Is there anything else in the back? Oh, look at this. There's like a index where you can see all of the cards and what page number their description lies on, which is really an interesting feature. Yeah, tarot card index. So if you were like if you did trim these, this is really interesting actually. If you trimmed these down to just the artwork, these would help you identify which card it is and what page that card is on, which is actually really cool. I wonder if anybody's trimmed it and then used this that way. If you've trimmed this deck and have you used this to like help yourself? Like I feel like it's pretty easy to tell what the cards are, but looking at it like this, you can see what the artwork would look like trimmed. It is mildly tempting, isn't it? But no, I'm going to leave this deck whole and original. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful deck. I will say that because it is so large, let's see, my trajectory spread lays out. Let's just see how that would look. Let's just lay it out. So, trajectory. The only cards I would struggle with is the ones that go above and below. So, trajectory would go to here. And then we'd have the above here and the below definitely out of frame down here. And then we also have that in this position. Yeah, actually touching my camera. So yeah, it would be hard to do that kind of a spread with these cards. Other kinds of spreads, one of the spreads that would go really well with this would be my self-worth profile reading, because that one, the self-worth profile reading, I have 5 primary positions. And then I use oracle cards. So if I used a smaller oracle deck with this, I could definitely lay out my 5, no problem. And then do my oracle here and just scooch. Even if I had to scooch these a little closer together and pull them up, that would still work. Look, it even fit between my candles. Look at that. Cool. You could actually even do a full 10 cards that way. You could just like layer them. So while they are gigantic, love that. Love that. Okay. I'm just playing now. I'm just playing. All right. Let me give these a little fan. Oh, it's going to be a big fan. How am I going to manage it? Okay. Whoop. Hey, not bad, Lisa. All right. I'm giving myself all the credit, but it's clearly the cardstock. Anyways, so that, my friends, is the Enchanted Tarot by Amy Zerner and Monty Farber, the 25th anniversary edition. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this, what turned into quite a deep dive. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts. This deck has been around for a long time, so it's nice to give it a little love. I would love to hear how you've been working with it if you have it, how you envision working with it if you were to pick it up, and if you spotted any tarot Easter eggs, things that were references to Thoth or Marseille or Rider-Waite that I didn't pick up on, share those in the comments down below and help everybody else who finds this video in the future to have more knowledge. Thank you so much. Please do like this video if you enjoyed the walkthrough. Subscribe if you're new here. Don't forget to hit the little bell. And all of the links to support the channel are in the description box down below if you want to book a reading or buy some Peggy bags or anything like that. You can find all that stuff down below. Thank you again so much, and may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye, guys.